Welcome back to another episode of Whiskey and Real Estate. WAR. Should we add the E or should it just be like war? It's like a little bit of both. It can be a war out there, right?
It is a war out there right now. Facts. Yep.
I'm Tone, co-host, and this is
Lucas Burrington, real estate agent and property manager here in the market. Yeah.
AMMT.
Yes.
How things been? What's the market like?
Interesting. It's an interesting market. You kind of seen from the popular question that Tone has and everyone else has is what's the market like? Rates are still high, so we're still sitting at 7% on a lot of stuff. So it's still an interesting market. There's not a lot of tire kickers out there right now, which is good. So you're not wasting time dealing with people during the summer that's like, oh, it's a nice day, let's go look at 15 houses.
Yeah.
The ones that are out there right now are buyers.
Okay.
As of this morning, there was 829 properties on the market.
Oh, wow.
Normal during pre-COVID was 1,700 to 2,500.
Oh, man.
So that's still driving the market right now. So
Yeah.
the lack of inventory is still driving the market.
So it's still good for agents and sellers.
Yep, still good for agents and sellers.
Yeah.
Still a lack of inventory out there.
Yeah.
Rural Iowa, I did a search this morning in properties from like 175 to 260. And there was in just the market. So let's go 30 minutes of Cedar Rapids.
Yep.
There was 4 houses on the market.
4?
On the rural side of it, yeah.
Wow.
So insane. Center Point, Iowa, where we're located right now doing this podcast, between 160 and 220, there's 0 houses on the market.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
So it's nuts right now where people are saying, let's list this at 200 when the house normally should be like 175. I can't argue with them because there's no competition right now.
Yeah, it's supply and demand.
Yep. So, and Center Point's a high area. I mean, it's 10 minutes from downtown Cedar Rapids.
Yeah.
So it's a high demand area.
Yeah.
It takes you longer to go from Marion to Cedar Rapids than it does from Cedar Rapids to Center Point.
Right.
So, I mean, it's still a high demand market out here in Center Point, and there's no properties.
That's amazing. Like just knowing that, hey, nothing else is available right now. If I list my house, I can definitely go up on the price and, we get a bite or we don't, but likely you will.
Right. Well, now during COVID, there was only like 230 properties on the market. It was like almost dry. Because, I mean, when you're talking, there's 460 licensed agents in Cedar Rapids.
Yeah.
And 200 properties on the market during COVID. That's nuts.
Yeah.
Everyone's undercutting each other and so on and so forth. Even when there's 400 agents licensed right now in the Cedar Rapids market and there's 829 properties on the market, that's still nuts. It's still, so you're starting to see some, properties not lasting long again. If it's of quality and priced right, it's gone.
Yeah. Do you have like a wait list? Like, hey, I'm looking to move to Center Point, and the moment a house pops up, here's the house. We just have one right now.
I'm all over the internet right now. Just be like, hey, anybody got a house coming up for $250?
Yeah.
Or anyone's got one under $400 for?
That's smart.
With an acre.
Yeah.
Holler at me. I got 5 buyers ready for it.
Well, I feel like that's like another way of marketing. Like, hey, is there anybody thinking about selling their house right now? People, and like give that example that people are putting a $175,000 house on the market for $200 and it's selling. There's nothing else available. So like,
take it. Yeah. It's insane. So
if you're thinking about it, go for it.
So good question about the market because there's a good synopsis of what's going on right now.
Yeah. That's wild. So like from if you're my agent and I'm looking to buy a house and there's like 2 available and the market's so, it's supply and demand. After we look at the 2 houses, are you like, hey, we don't know when something else is coming up, or hey, if it's not a fit, you might be waiting a while?
So one of my favorite clients, young couple, she grew up right across the street from my house with my kids. Yeah. Man, they're got to be 25-ish, 25 to 28 right now.
Yeah.
I just sold their house, and they knew selling their house, freshly married, 2 kids, and Husband just got out of pharmacy school, doing a great job. I mean, great couple.
Yeah.
So they knew they needed to get closer to Waterloo. So we sold their house in Center Point or in Cedar Rapids because we got the price we wanted on it, knowing they were going to have to live in the parents' basement or a relative's basement.
Yeah, until.
So, and right now I'm playing the card of with them that's like we have to be patient for the right property to come up because they're pretty specific of the location they want. With being at either in Urbana or in the Waterloo market, there's just nothing. There's zero houses that fit what they're looking for right now. So, average market, there's probably 6 or 7 of them. So we are literally, as market property's going to hit, we're going to bounce that day.
Yeah.
But patience is virtue right now on when you're looking for specifics. So,
So I got a question on that, and then we got to talk a little bit about this whiskey we're bringing back. But when you're in that position where there's like some sacrifices that have to be made, like, hey, this is the location, but it's a little bit above your price, or it's one room short, or one room maybe too many. Where do you usually lean your buyers? Like, what way do you normally swing?
First, we talk time frame. What's your time frame of actually desperately needing to be in the place?
Yeah.
Because,
how long can you last in your parents' basement?
Yes. And then the non-negotiables. What's your non-negotiables?
Ah, there we go.
I always tell agents the same thing. Have your non-negotiables. Don't give up your family time. Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't let the clients control your full schedule.
Yeah.
Have your non-negotiables. I'm not missing my kids' games.
Yep.
Same thing when you're buying a house.
Yep.
I'm not. If I have 4 kids, I'm not selling for 3 kids.
Yeah.
Or a 3-bed house because you're already grown out of it.
Yep.
So but when it gets into having a complete 1,000 square foot finished basement, or instead of going 2.5 baths, we need to have 3. Those are negotiables because if you got the right house, right location, the non-negotiables. I need this location. I need these many beds, baths. When you get into the extras, that's where you got to figure out what your non-negotiables are.
Yep. Okay.
Is that backsplash really mean a lot to you?
Right.
I mean, does having 4
Is that the
four
deal
beds?
breaker?
Yeah. Is 4 baths necessary when you got 3 people in your house? I mean, what is your non-negotiables? Now, you're making the biggest purchase of your life at the moment, usually. So those non-negotiables stick firm on, but also your negotiables, like you're still spending a lot of money, so you got to weigh, hey, I'm good without or good with.
Exactly.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Cool. So this week we're bringing back Templeton Rye.
Yeah, it was so good, man. It was smooth, and for y'all that you want to know, it's a Monday, so it's a rough Monday. The market's just breaching itself. Everyone's getting all the new updates from the weekend, what went pending, what not, so... This is smooth,
it's time
and
to bring it back.
we needed one of these too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, definitely a long weekend. I performed at a festival called Cornbread Festival. It was the inaugural one. I got to have my daughter on stage. It was her birthday, so beautiful time. We went to Adventureland, so that was a lot of fun. Thinking of like theme parks and like attractions, does that usually raise the price of a property, or does it actually lower it because of so much traffic going through it?
Man, depends how close. Yeah.
Okay.
Depends on close. If you're an arm reach away where you can hear the rides, it might hurt you.
Oh,
but if you're, quarter mile down the road, it might be a destination area.
Yeah.
I mean, investors, it's definitely a destination area because Airbnb is a big thing.
Oh man, that's genius.
So if you're within an arm's reach, that's where your Airbnb comes into play.
Yeah.
Where investors go out and buy and be like, hey,
Right
they're popping 150 people through, or 150,000 people through a weekend. I guarantee there's going to be someone that wants to stay in your house for 3 days.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it all depends on the buyers, man. It is. Schools are more of an attraction than in a theme park, obviously.
Yeah,
so,
that makes sense.
I always look at a theme park or like an Adventureland is kind of like having a railroad track in your backyard.
Yeah.
No one really desires to have that in your backyard.
Yeah.
But, it is sure nice that it's upkept and so on and so forth. So, I mean, that's yeah, you want to be blocks away, not right next to it. So
Nice. So I got some fun questions here today. They're going to get a little interesting here. Just things that I was curious about when it comes to selling and buying property.
all right.
How do you deal with like a previous buyer, like or not buyer, the previous owner like passing away in a property that you have? Do you tell the person that's doing the walkthrough? Does that matter to everybody? How do you deal with that?
So this is where you walk on that fine line of ethics. So the fine line of ethics. So let's go legal. Let's go state law. Let's go real estate. There's a law behind this.
Oh no.
So I would love to be able to say, hey, you know what? I think this house is haunted. Or I would be like, yo, George passed away in the living room. But I can't. It's ethically, I feel I should, but legally cannot.
Oh, wow.
Because I cannot purposely or unpurposely stigmatize a property.
Okay.
So stigmatization's real.
Okay.
So Jan might come in the door and her hair might raise up in the back of the neck and a spoon might fly at her from the kitchen when she's walking through.
You know why.
I can't say, hey, this house is haunted. But Jan, a spoon just got thrown at you. So that's where, I mean, it's like one of those things.
Yeah.
I always tell people, I'm like, if you get an odd feeling when you walk in the house, just do some research.
Nice. That's a good way.
Because anything that's public knowledge can be shared.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just, and put yourself in those shoes of a seller, Tone. So
yeah.
Jan died in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Jan's your mom, something like that. God
Yeah.
bless your mom.
Yeah.
We hope nothing ever happens. But anyway, and you know that
She's
Lucas knows as your listing agent, and she might be sleeping around still upstairs. She might be upstairs creeping around.
Footsteps.
Stay out of my room.
Right.
But
Doors are slamming.
yeah, but you might lose $40,000 worth of value.
Yeah.
You're going to be like, Lucas, don't say a damn thing. If they want to know, they need to go look up themselves.
Yeah.
But you don't be the reason that this sale don't go through, Lucas. So I'm at the mercy of the seller.
Okay.
I cannot disclose something you tell me not to disclose.
Really?
Because my agreement's with you. Mm-hmm. Now, once again, if I have to disclose to you that if I'm bringing in a buyer and be like, yo, I'm also helping the buyer.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell them to go do some research.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's an open line of communication. So, law, back to law. State law is I cannot stigmatize a property by what information I give that could be or could not be true. There's paranormal activity in this house is not scientifically proven.
There we go.
So, therefore, if it's not scientifically proven, it is not a true fact.
Yeah.
So I can't give that answer. My first 8 years of doing this, I always asked, if you walked into a house, would you want to know if it's haunted or not? Me and my family, I'd be like, I'm probably burning this thing down. So I don't want it.
Who says no to that? No, don't tell me.
Don't tell me. I mean, but there is some people that don't care. Now let's look at the other spectrum. There is some people that are looking for that too, that want that history and be like, hey, I love this house. I think that love that that freaky wild side of Aunt Jane.
What about like famous people? Is there any laws against telling, hey, this person used to live in this property or?
Yeah, there's no laws against that.
Okay. Have you done that as a selling point at all?
I have sold a couple Iowa famous people.
Yeah.
This house, not mentioning any names. That let's get into the Iowa State clash, man.
Yeah.
The Hawkeyes versus Cyclones.
Yeah. You say the wrong name and you just lost.
Right. Absolutely. Facts.
That is so
Facts.
ridiculous.
It is so
This house
facts.
checks all the boxes.
Except he was a Hawkeye fan, and I'm a Hawkeye fan. So if I'd be like, hey, that's cool. But the Iowa State fan, I'd be like, man, that dude spit on our coach, man. And They might want nothing to do with it.
Oh no!
So you gotta play your market, man. You gotta know who you're selling to.
That is great. That is great.
So yeah, I mean that's a real question. Is I mean, hey, this is Nelly's house here. Well, how many parties did he have?
Yeah.
You might have that, and then you got the fan that'll be like, man, that's awesome. I'm gonna pay 30.
Kurt Warner lived here. I gotta buy this house.
Yeah, you know, man.
Checks none of my boxes, but Kurt Warner lived here.
So it is scenario driven. Scenario driven. Know your crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I always tell people when they're getting ready to list a house, take everything personal down. Don't leave your kids' pictures up. Don't leave your picture up. I mean, God, if you're famous or infamous, one of the two, you take that stuff down too.
Okay.
Because you don't want anyone coming back later knowing you've moved to Virginia. You got a vacant house that, or might still have some of your belongings in the house that might be valuable.
Yeah.
Now, vacant house, person living in Virginia. They just got transferred from the Iowa Cubs out to another major league team. Blah 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 blah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna go rummage that house when they're gone. So there's things. I mean, interesting thing, Tone. Let's go real estate fact of the day about open houses.
Okay.
Open houses. So we got to have a huge lookout of medical pills. So we do have, and I've seen it personally myself when I've been in an open house, people that will rummage through the house to see if there's medical bottles left out. So like opioids, prime example, hydrocodone, Percocet, stuff like that. People are going through the houses just to see.
Like they request a viewing of the house, and then if they see something, they just try to swipe it?
Right, or they'll come through on a Sunday open house where it's open to the public, and the only reason they're going through is to see if they can't find pain meds or stuff. I mean, this is real, man.
This episode is going to be the darker side of real estate.
Yeah, it's real, man.
Have you caught someone?
Yes.
Oh my! How do you react and maneuver?
So
do you fire the client?
It was an open house. So
oh God!
I was showing. There was a family that walked in, and there was two, probably 25-year-olds.
Yeah.
That came through, and they were looking kind of suspicious, and they were spending a lot of time in the master suite.
Yeah.
And so I just went back to check on them, and they were going through the medicine cabinets, and they had two of the prescription bottles that were already out, and one was open.
Oh,
and I'm like, so I had to play it cool to the point where I had to act like I didn't see them doing much of anything, and then I had to call the authorities. And sure enough, the minute I do something, I put myself in harm's way. I mean, I'll hold my own.
Yeah,
I mean, if a boy wants to come, let's come. But when it gets into I have
business too, and there's other people in the house. So
I had to protect everyone in the house. That was
your business and integrity. If you're screaming at somebody because they did something, and they're like, "No, we didn't," and it's like, "Oh, dude."
If there was no other families in the house, I probably would have handled it a little different. But the fact that it was a busy open house, I needed it to be handled a certain way.
I would have never thought of something like that.
It's one of the biggest things that are out there right now is people walking through checking for opioids. I mean, you hear about it all the time about it being a crisis out there, but it's real, man. I mean, it's real.
Here's another darker side of real estate question. Talk to me about squatters and people outside the property. How much time we got?
Squatters is a real thing.
In Iowa?
It is a real thing.
What are our laws here?
So squatter right laws is if you sit on a property, and it could be a land. So you could go put a belonging on a piece of that open lot across the street right now. If it's not disturbed or anyone hasn't talked to you in 7 years of, don't quote me, I think it's 7 years. If you're not disturbed, you actually have squatter rights to that property. So Jane Doe might be living next door to you, and you decide, hey man, I want to widen my driveway a little bit. I'm going to move this retaining wall that's next to my thing. I'm going to move it a foot back.
Yeah.
And that foot might be on Jane's property. Yeah. She doesn't say anything in 7 years. You just took rights to that property. Now squatters, so I deal with it a lot on the property management side where Tone and girlfriend live together, or Tone and lady of the night lives together, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And Tone says, done. I'm done with this. I'm moving.
Yeah.
Old girl does not want to leave the property. And she's like, oh, I already got belongings in here. I'm claiming squatters. So I have to, but I only have a lease with you. Yeah. So I have to then give her what she's called tenant's rights. So I have to serve her some type of document or a piece of paper that states, I'm AMMT, this is what we manage, blah, 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 blah.
Can the police help you at all?
She has to grab that piece of paper out of my hand.
Out of your hand?
And read it. And
oh, come on.
once I can get her on video or a picture of her opening that document, she now has tenant rights.
Okay, so she has to be served.
I have to serve her.
Okay, yeah. But does it have to be you, or can you have the authorities? Okay.
Yeah, I'll have myself or someone else serve it.
Well, where can the authorities get involved to help you with this process?
So we've been doing it so long, we already have just blank documents that we can fill out, like a 3-day quit or a 3-day quit to cure or something like that.
Yeah.
Where we can hand it to you, not you, but Jane Doe living in the property that it wasn't on the lease or anything like that, and we give her rights. So that as soon as she accepts it, she's accepting tenant rights.
Right.
Then I have to go back and then I can start the eviction process.
Okay.
If I never give her the tenant rights, she can squat as long as she wants.
Rent free.
Rent free.
That's horrible.
Yeah. So the first thing I do is just make sure she gets served and she gets rights.
Okay. But you do them yourself. You don't send a sheriff or
all the above. It just depends.
Whatever's case by case.
It depends on my availability and whatnot.
Okay.
Like today, I'm going to go post on 48 properties because we're taking management over them, and I like to shake hands of current tenants and so on and so forth. And so I'm going to go post on 48 properties today. And
well, what do you mean by post?
So I'm going to go serve them notice that, hey, we're managing these properties.
Okay. Here we are. So you're putting a piece of paper on each door.
Yep. And
but you actually knock.
Oh yeah, I like to. If I could talk to them, it'd be fantastic. I want to make sure that transition's smooth, where they know where to pay the rent. If they get in trouble, they know who to call. Communication's huge.
Nice. It really is.
And the same thing goes on the negative side of it.
Okay.
Because, like you say, a lot of those squatters or someone that has outlived their lease or something like that, if you just have a conversation with them, it's usually not a negative experience because they're like, you got me type situation. And they're out because they don't want to deal with the cops either. So, yeah.
All right. Talk to me about your process checking on properties. Like, let's say you got this apartment building and there's people hanging out in front of it, and you're trying to either sell units or whatnot. What can and can't you do?
So realistically, in our leases for tenant-wise, you can't party at our places. I mean, it states that in the lease. This is a place of living, no partying, no loitering.
What's considered a party? How many people?
Anything that's above 5 on the lease is considered a social gathering, I do believe, in our lease. So anything above that, can't do. Now, if they're disturbing a neighbor, disturbing a peace, anything like that, it's immediate. You got to go.
Yeah.
So once again, it's that time of year. I mean, we're broad middle of summer. It's barbecue season.
Yeah.
I mean, weekends. A lot of people understand and they're respectful. A lot of it is what are they disturbing?
Right.
I mean, if it's preventing a sale of a property, then we have to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Legally, you're prohibiting the sale of a property on purpose. That is against the lease.
Okay.
So,
what if it's people that's uninvited by the tenant? So there's just people that hang out in the area, but they don't even know the person that
trespassing. It's trespassing.
Do you handle that or the tenant?
I call the cops.
But it's you. And you don't, like, if the tenant calls, hey, there's people hanging out around here, you call
I don't want to put the tenant in a bad situation.
Okay.
Now, some of them be like, yo, I'm going to go say something if you don't say something. I mean, I do hear that a lot.
I can take
and they don't care. They don't care. I'm like, hey, you know what?
You won't be the
John is not happy. John has 3 relatives over today, and 2 of them are babies, and they're trying to sleep. You got... So, I mean, a lot is scenario-based.
And if it's a property that's vacant, you just call at that point. If, like, there's just people hanging out or... in front of a property that you're trying to sell, but nobody's actually inside.
Yeah, I mean, if I feel there's present danger to that property, then we got to get the authorities. I mean,
Okay.
if it's making it look bad, we got to get the situation cleaned up.
Okay.
A lot of what I do is based off the representation of someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So whether you're the seller or whether Jan is the seller, I'm representing them.
Okay.
So I got to make sure their property is being represented in the proper manner as well. So
Okay. I had another dark side of real estate question, and then I have an actual scenario in Iowa we haven't talked about that we definitely have to address. But first, I want to know, like, how does talk about like an eviction process when it comes to someone renting, or even like a welfare check if they haven't paid rent and you haven't had any communication. How does that go down?
it is. The law is the same by every property management company, but it's handled differently by every landlord and every property management company. We have our firm standings. On the 6th of the month, and your lease is due on the 1st, on the 6th of the month, if you haven't paid by then, we will serve you a 3-day quit to cure. Mm-hmm. So that's regardless, no matter what. Now, on an average, we manage, and here's an update for you guys, we manage right around 600 properties now. Yeah. When we first started doing these, we were like 350.
When we first started the podcast?
When we first started the
podcast.
My,
that's so amazing.
So in the last, 6 months, whatever it's been, I mean, we're at 600 properties now. God. And qualities. I mean, we've turned down a lot. So quality properties. So the way we handle it is, and we've seen this has been best, no matter what. On the 6th of the month, you're getting served a notice on your door. And in law-wise, you have to do it 3 ways. You got to post it on the door, you got to send it by certified mail, and then hand it to them. Okay. Now, if they sign off that they've received it, it's certified mail, actual mail, and then posting on the door or hand it to them. Yeah. If they sign off that they received it, then the certified mail and all that stuff doesn't matter.
Okay.
On an average, between our 550, 600 properties, we have about 25 to 30 that we serve on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
Maybe one of those will go to eviction.
Okay.
So a lot of people, when they get them, they're just, it's almost like a reminder to them that I haven't paid, because our goal is not to kick people out of houses.
No, you lose money.
Right. Our goal is to, work with every family that we can out there that wants to work with us.
Yeah.
So it's the whole communication line back and forth. The people that we have issues with are the ones that dodge us. It's like, it's embarrassing. You're right. You're late. You're 15 days late.
Yeah.
It happens.
Okay.
We're here to work with you on that. Yeah. Now, if you're not returning calls or doing emails or stopping into the office, I give you so much access to myself and AMMT. You can reach someone at all times. I mean, we're not hard to find. Right. I mean, we have 10 employees everywhere that are running.
So
and running.
Again, communication is key.
It's huge.
Okay.
In the last 3 years, we've seen people go through everything. I mean,
good,
good,
you
bad,
may not
different.
Surprise us at all.
Yeah, it could be sickness or death or whatever. Not. Then we understand. We've seen it.
Yeah.
Now, I'll be honest though, Tone. There's some people that their mama's died 5 times, and their uncle has passed away 13 times. And I mean, we have to keep a record. I mean, we almost have. I would love to put this board up here as like excuse bingo. This is why I'm not paying my rent today. Oh, Jan in Florida is gone. Right. What happened? You live here in Iowa. Why does that affect your income?
Right.
Or, hey, George, I'm sorry, but, Helen has passed away 6 times.
Yeah.
You've used this one already.
They keep bringing her back. Yeah. It's not working out. They need to pick a side. Like, come on, Helen. You coming or going?
But it is so true. We keep a good record. I mean, some of these excuses that we hear, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's like, I get it.
Yeah.
If anyone in this market knows me and truly knows who I am, I'm like one of the most caring, giving. I'll give you my shirt off the back. I'll figure it out where we can figure out your rent situation.
Yeah.
But there's also the people that they've taken advantage of that situation and thinking we're stupid. But we've been through the game a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, Yeah, this is my 15th year in real estate. I mean, I've heard it all. I mean, you got like 1,700 tenants running around out there, and everywhere. The first week and the last week. I mean, I would love to see the obituary page between here and Chicago from the 28th of every month to the 6th of every month, because it is so many deaths going on. That is all related to my tenants.
You know,
I mean,
oh man,
not America. It's just my tenants.
Just these guys.
Just my and man, I bet I have one guy that's had 35 best friends.
You couldn't have been that close to that.
Like, come on, man. I'm like, A, you're not a very nice guy. B, I know you personally, and no, if
this many people are dying, you're the problem. What are you doing to them?
So yeah, well, some of the excuses, and I apologize to some of the public that it might touch here, but I'm telling you, it happens.
We're gonna have an excuses episode. Just go through the scenarios.
Yeah.
Okay. So you said 3-day quit to cure. Is that what it?
So let's run through the quick process of eviction. 3-day quit to cure.
Yep.
That goes out on with our company. We post it and mail it and hand it on the 6th of every month.
Yep.
Then we have to wait 7 business days.
Okay.
And it's crucial. If you wait 6 business days, they'll throw it out in court. Landlords, pay attention. It is quit to cure, 3-day quit to cure. Then you got to wait 7 days. You don't wait 7 days. That's what they're saying for snail mail and business business days and whatnot, that it needs to reach there. Holiday does not count as your 7th day. And in fact, if there's a holiday in the middle, you got to go one more.
Yeah, just make it 8 days.
Yeah. And I always tell people, make it 8 days just in case there was something that appeared that you didn't know.
Yeah, new holiday.
New holidays popping up.
And Valentine's Day.
Right. So once that happens, then you got to file for what they call an FED, which is a forcible entry detainer.
Yep.
You got to do that through your local sheriff's department or your county seat. And so then that needs to be served.
Yeah.
So the forcible entry needs to be served. And once that's served, so you got your 7-day quit to cure, you got to wait that period, then you can do your FED. Then it takes, I think, 5 days to hear back from the FED. And then once the sheriff served it and it's gone through and you got your court date for eviction court. Mm-hmm. Now, in the meanwhile, they pay, you can cancel all this.
Oh, man. Okay.
So
that's a lot of work.
You don't have to go through the process if they pay.
Between the 6th and
whenever date it comes out to, because usually it goes from the 6th and by the 23rd we're in court.
Okay.
That's normally how it goes.
Yeah.
So by the 23rd, 25th, depending what weekends and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So once we hit that FED process, then you get into the court, waiting for your court cases, and the judge will announce when your court date is. Once you go to court, and if you win in court because you followed your dates and you've done your certified mailers and you've done your posting on the doors and you've done the regular mailer, you've hit all 3 areas. Yeah. Once you win in court, they do what they call a writ, and it's a writ process. That's when those.
Can you spell that?
WRIT.
Okay, just writ.
Writ. WRIT. So,
any idea what it stands for?
I think that it's just a writ. I mean, it's. Okay. I don't think it's abbreviated for nothing. Okay. It comes from your local sheriff department. That's when a cop is. That's the date the cop's going to meet you on site.
Okay.
Then you got to have.
They meet the property manager at the location.
Yeah, and you got to have. I think one person per room, per bedroom, be at that property.
Oh my God!
To meet the cop. So
it sounds very.
So if it's a three bedroom property. You have to have 2 per bedroom, so you got to have 6 people there on site to help clear this property out.
Oh my goodness! Okay.
So once that writ's served, the cop's going to meet you at the date that's on your writ. You guys are going to clean the property. You have to put everything on the curb, and you got to leave it there for 24 hours. So this is when people are driving up and down the streets, and you see all the belongings all on the curb,
dressers and everything.
That person just went through the whole writ process and the eviction process, and it's got to sit there for 24 hours.
Okay.
Man, the bogus part of it is if I've had people take it through the whole writ process, and as we're moving up, the people that were moving their stuff out will drive a U-Haul truck up and say, "Will you please put it in the back of my U-Haul?"
Oh,
it
come
happens.
on! No, we're not movers.
Yes, it happens, man.
What?
And as a property manager, I'm like, man, I don't want this curb to be a mess. So
That's
you're
what I
almost
was
obligated
thinking.
to put it in the
like
back
I
of
wouldn't
that
want my
U-Haul.
property to look like this. Like,
Yeah, so you're almost obligated to put it in the back of that U-Haul.
what? No, that's a cheat code. But all right, so they're evicted. I'm sure there's some type of list they go on so they don't rent from you again.
So when you're going through the eviction process, we file a judgment and a lien against them. So once someone next property manager pulls their credit, whatnot, it'll show that there's a lien, or it should show if it goes through. No, we can't put a blackball list out there.
There's no blacklist.
There's no blasting people off.
Damn.
Trust me.
But
if
okay,
there is,
but
you're watching this. Please send me a link. Please send me a link.
Okay.
But there's not. You can't.
But they at least
legally
got to get
blast it.
paid up before they can rent from you again.
That is the reason we put a judgment and a lien against them.
Okay.
So if they go somewhere else, it's realistically sometimes the only chance that the investor has to recoup their money.
Okay.
Because if the other property management company's doing it right, it's like, hey, I might rent to you, but you owe $2,400 back to your previous management company.
Yeah.
Pay that first, and then we'll do it. As respectful to other property managers, we do it that way and say, hey, you know what? You need to call A, B, and C property management, pay them in full, and then we'll consider you.
Yeah.
I don't think everyone has that same respect, and they just want to
the money.
fill the unit. Yeah. So.
Dang,
But yes,
wild.
God, if there was a blackball list, it'd be fantastic. Well, and it's funny you brought that up because I got to give kudos to a bondsman here in town, a bonds gal actually in Cedar Rapids. She bonded out this gal ran bond on her, never showed up for court. And I saw a big old post and I laughed my tail off because I'm like, I wish I could do this. Where it says, okay, so-and-so, you want to become internet famous, here you go.
Oh, no.
And gave the whole story. And I'm like, I wish I could do that in the management. So I need to be a bondsman, man.
Right?
You can
in
do this.
In another university.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. That was great. I still have more. Let's see. I think I want to get through a couple more with you. That was really good, though, the insight. And then one follow-up to that is you just explained this very excruciating process on the property management side. What's the financial burden for evicting somebody?
So loss of rent is one of them because you're obviously evicting because of lack of rent paid. But then usually the whole process, because you got to pay the city fees and the county fees. Yeah. So that fee, I'm sure it varies.
Yeah.
Cedar Rapids, it costs roughly about $550 to $600.
What?
And that's not our fees. That's just what the county.
That's what you have to pay the county to go through this process.
Yes.
On top of the loss of rent.
On top of that.
You gotta pay them. And then you mentioned like having two people from room, and I'm thinking like,
I gotta pay
you're paying
people
those
to be out there. Yeah, because it costs probably about $700 per clean out when you got to remove a whole house.
That's the clean out part of it.
That's just the clean out.
Not so on top of that, there's the city fees.
You got the $550 city, then you got the clean out. You got to pay people to remove stuff from the property.
Oh no!
And let's say you got to get a dumpster because you just had Jane Doe found out that there was dressers on 6th Street right on the curb. So now you got Jane Doe, her cousins, her sisters, and you got her other cousin Paul that decided to be like, hey, rummage sale on 6th Street right at the corner. Now everything's spread out through the yard.
Oh no.
So that's why it's almost better to throw it in that U-Haul. Hey, moving company
get this
today.
out of here.
Yeah, so.
Oh my goodness.
But as a property manager, I could get sued if I don't put that stuff on the thing for
on the U-Haul
on the curb for 24
Okay, I was
hours.
about to say.
And I'm telling you, that thing ain't going to the curb nicely.
That's weird.
But it'll hit the curb, I promise.
You know. All right. Okay. I want to do one more before I talk about this other story that I'm just beyond curious on your opinion and where everything went wrong. We'll get there. Let's talk deposits. I want, like, again, this is the dark side of real estate. So let's talk about property managers that don't want to give the deposit back. I want to hear why you think, in a lot of situations where it's justified that you don't give it back. Should it be expected when I rent a property to always get my deposit back? If I do, like, talk to me about it.
Okay, so it's an honor for me to pay your deposit back. I do not want to keep your deposit.
Oh, AMMT guy.
Yeah.
You'll never hear this anywhere else.
Because that means you took really good care of the property and it's back in the same condition I gave it to you.
Okay.
So any landlord that's deposit shopping out there is not in it for the right thing. I mean, my goal is to find the people that I can call Mr. Investor out of North Carolina and be like, hey, you had to move out. Property's in great shape. With your permission, I'm releasing this deposit out.
Yeah.
So our goal is to get the deposit back because that means I took care of the property.
Yep.
But I completely understand there's a big flag out there that a lot of property managers have had raised on them multiple times. Your clean is not the same as the property management clean.
Yeah.
So I always say, hey, tenant beware and investor beware. Save the fight down the road, do a walkthrough together. Get on the same page of where it is. So we try to do a walkthrough before they move out so we can explain the situation of what normal, and when they sign their lease, they're initialing right next to the lease in the area that says this is normal wear and tear. This is what you're in charge of.
Yep.
If you fall into this category, then it's coming out of your deposit.
It's black and white.
It's very black and white. I think that's, when we've taken over management for another management company or other investors, they have a very vague lease. And that's where the deposit's lost.
Yeah.
Is because there's a lack of paperwork, there's lack of documentation.
Yep.
We have been we're on the other side of it where we probably, our lease instead of being 2 pages long is 7 pages long. And I'd say
one missing nothing.
We ain't missing it. You know, I know. Right. We're on the same page.
Exactly.
When we go to court, you want to fight me on this. Someone's like, you initial that says that furnace filter was going to be changed out at your cost, or you're over here as normal wear and tear to the investor is the fringes on the carpet and okay, yeah, pipe broke, it leaked. That's on the investor. That doesn't come out of your deposit. Carpet cleaning, there's a big thing in the courts that says you can't demand carpet to be cleaned. But I can demand that property to be back in the same condition I gave it to them.
Yeah.
So if that carpet is cleaned and I hand them an invoice that states, look, this carpet was cleaned before you moved in, and then it's trashed when you moved out, then I can hold you responsible for that carpet.
Okay.
So
what about painting? That's one that we've always got hit with is, we got to do new paint even if you didn't damage the paint at all. We always do new paint. That always comes out of your deposit.
Yeah, it is. I've heard that as well. I mean, it's one of the first questions I usually get when people move in, can we paint? I said, only on an approved color that our investor is. So we do allow, nice. You want to go in and paint?
Yeah.
Go in and paint. Get it back to just as long as it's a neutral color.
Yeah.
Or if you go crazy, it's back to a neutral color before you move out.
Yeah.
But holes in the walls where painting comes into it is we're allowing you to hang stuff on the walls, but if you make a hole in the wall, we expect it filled and then touched back up.
Define hole. Is that a thumbtack? Is that
nail hole? So nail hole. Okay.
Yeah.
And it states that in the lease that it's a nail hole that need to be filled back in and the paint needs to match.
Okay.
So that's the big differential is when it's not clarified what painting is. A lot of times it's magic eraser, clean up the walls, and you're good.
Yeah.
I feel bad for the ones that have to repaint.
Yeah.
But that doesn't happen very much.
Okay.
Yep. And just keep in mind, investors, we're talking about the 2% of people out there in the world, the evictions and the. We're talking about the 2%ers. That's it.
This is the dark side of real estate.
Yeah. Because keep in mind, we have, once again, we manage 600 properties and we maybe have 1 eviction a month. So.
Wow, really? That's it?
Yeah. I think this last month recession's real, or not recession, but inflation's real. Well, and it trickles reflection of the recession as well. But anyways, it's tightened up pockets, man. So it is.
Because that was going to be my next question.
We've gone through some different.
How much time were you spending in court with?
Not much.
Okay.
Not much.
And does it have to be you, or can it be a representative from the company, or?
Yeah. Tamara does a lot of our court stuff. So
Okay.
yeah, our office manager, she's fantastic. She does a lot of our stuff.
Okay. That's awesome. All right, so to get to the big one that I've been wanting to talk to you about forever, I hope the video keeps going, but if it stops, you'll have to tune in to the podcast exclusively for the audio. We have to talk, and I'm surprised we haven't yet. What happened in Davenport?
Oh man.
Where did they go wrong? How do you feel about it? I heard there was only a $300 fine.
So I know about Davenport. I know what happened with the building collapses, and God forbid that.
Tell them why that could never happen with AMMT and any property that you have.
Well, in this one, in so-called this case and everything that's going on, the reason that the fines to the management company and whatnot are lesser is because, and we're seeing it on our city inspections, it's already hitting Cedar Rapids. So.
Like an effect from what happened out there is now affecting all
of our city inspections. I've
good.
never seen so many stuff on our. I just had a 77 plex inspected, and the very first item it is, because it's a 3-story, is architect needs to come out and give a written statement that this building is sound.
Oh,
my 15 years,
the
I've
architect,
never
the
seen
person
this.
that designed this.
Yeah. So this
because for that maybe they should have been liable, right? The architect,
and that's what they're saying in a lot with the Davenport situation. I don't know the in depths of it because we're in Cedar Rapids, but I know the basics of why it's affecting me and what happened and whatnot.
Yeah.
So they're saying that a structural engineer of some sort, or a city person of some sort, somewhere down the process of the line, miscalling out that this building had a lien, or there was some cracking going on in ceilings. Some structural issues were not taken care of.
Yeah, and it sounds like from what I've read, it was addressed by multiple tenants that there was things falling and debris in the building, and the structural integrity just wasn't there.
Yep. So there's fingers to blame everywhere. I mean, did the management company report it? Did they not take care of it? Did the city miss something? Did a structural engineer miss something?
A city inspector probably has to come out at least annually.
Well, so three times, once every 3 years is what it is in our area.
Okay.
That you have to have your building inspected.
Okay.
Then they moved it to once every 5 years. Depending if it's Hiawatha, Marion, or Cedar Rapids.
Right. It doesn't depend on how old the building is.
No.
That should be a thing.
So that's now why they're saying,
yeah,
I want a report from a structural engineer that this building's sound.
Yeah,
because that covers everyone's ass and puts it on.
Yep.
On the other side. So yeah, that is the ramifications. I mean, it's hitting all city. I couldn't imagine with the city of Dubuque and city of Davenport and the city of Iowa City and the city of Cedar Rapids. I guarantee there was a mass email that was sent out that says, get structural engineers out here at all costs. Or someone pulled the inspectors in from the city and said, hey, we don't want this happening here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is good for the consumer.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I have seen it 3 times already that I need to get a structural engineer out after a city inspection, and I've never seen that except when buildings were leaning after their HO.
And that's like right when you're securing a new property, or they're coming to your existing properties and asking.
So, Tone, you're a new investor. You go out and buy a property. I, as your manager, will go out and register that for you.
Okay.
I'll register you as a landlord, and I'll register you as you now own this property as a rental property.
Okay.
Soon as that's registered, usually within 60 days, there's an inspector out to inspect the property as a. Okay, does it have its smoke detectors? Is it structurally
fire
sound?
Extinguisher on each floor?
All that good stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, that is what triggers that inspection. Is when you purchase a property, or when you become a new investor, or you're doing some remodeling projects and you got permits pulled. That may cause an inspector to come out type soon. And keep in mind, they're for the integrity of keeping you honest and keeping everyone else honest. So, But that was a bad situation, man. It was a bad situation. I can't say that it was a preventable situation or not because I'm not a structural engineer.
Yeah.
I just know that there was a chain of command that was going on, that it was dropped somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's where the fingers are getting pointed at.
Yeah. And a reason why it would never happen with a AMMT property, like you mentioned earlier, like you turn down property. Like I'm not just taking anything. Like, is there like a checklist for you on what you're looking for when you're investing in a new property and what other people should?
So, yeah, good question. So when I'm taking on management of a property, we're one of the few companies in the area that actually manages for other people.
Okay.
So, like, there's management companies in here that only manage their own units. So, Lucas were to buy 55 units, I'm only managing Lucas's properties type situations. We don't do that. We manage everyone else's. We got investors from 17 different states now and close to 100 investors. And so we hit all jacks of trades and all different types of property, but we're not just picking up anything. We want an investor that wants to work with us, that wants to take care of their property, and that we feel safe going to. That's the first 3 questions that AMMT asks when we're taking on new properties. Do I feel safe? Do I feel it's being taken care of? And how well of a relationship can I build with that investor? If I'm not checking all 3 boxes of yes, 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 or this is going to be great, this is going to be good, then it ain't worth me doing.
Right.
You want to come on and micromanage what everything we're doing? I'm not your guy because we're busy. I mean, we got stuff to do. But you can demand communication because I demand it back too. So if you want to communicate, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
But if you want to be on site when I go there every time and you want to say, hey, Lucas, what about this, 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 and this? And hey, can I get an accounting report once a week? I'm not your guy.
Yeah.
I will give you full accounting reporting every 30 days.
Yeah.
I will make sure that everything's taken care of. I'll make sure anything over $350, I'm calling you to see, hey, what do you want us to do? I will work for you, but I'd rather we work together type situation. So if those boxes are checked, I'm not going into a place where I'm going to send one of my employees and I feel they're going to get shot.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to put my name behind a tenant when I stick them into a building and I think that roof's going to fall in, or I feel, hey, I know that this property hasn't been maintained, but I still want to stick someone in there. I look at that as if I'm going to manage it, I want to be able to say, hey, look, I'm moving my daughter in here.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. That's a seller. Like, I would let my daughter live here.
I will manage it.
Say less. I trust it.
Yep.
That's awesome.
We got, and I say fire, it is what it is. I fired probably 150 doors almost every January. At the beginning of the year, because I get to see how it's being maintained and is the investor taking care of the property. Do me and the investor have a good relationship? Yeah. And we cut the fat at the beginning of every January. Because
how far of a notice do you usually give them?
Our management agreements are usually 2 years, but I always say when we sign that, you're not happy, I'm not happy, let's not keep this relationship going. Let's give a 45-day notice.
Every relationship was saying, you're not happy, I'm not happy.
I don't have time for that, man. Yeah. I want to sell properties. I want to go help my buyers out, whether it's single families, and I want to help my tenants out and help my investors. If we're bickering over nonsense and there's not a connection between us and we can't get along, I don't want you unhappy. No one's married to me.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, don't be married to me because we have this contract in place. Right. I mean, loyalty goes forever with me, but loyalty is supporting each other.
Yeah.
Loyalty is not just because you're with me. If you're an asshole and you're with me, excuse my language, but if you're an asshole and you're with me, this ain't a good relationship. We need to go different ways.
Yeah.
So I don't feel that your property management agreement should tie you to that. Love that. So that's how I feel about it. I mean, we're locally. I own the company, so we are locally owned. We're locally managed. Your kid is probably playing sports with my kid. I want to be able to look at you straight in the eye and be like, "Hey, this was a good relationship."
And all that.
If I got to go show up at a basketball game, I'm like, "Oh no, John's over there. This ain't for us."
Yeah. Some relationships are saved, but when you stop doing business together, honestly. Like, hey,
Yeah, absolutely.
we could actually be cool now that we don't have that in between us. So,
well, and that's one of the, this will be a later topic that we talk about at a different podcast, but one of the reasons I get management is because you had a good relationship with your tenant, and now that tenant's not paying you. You need me to come in to be the bad guy and be like, hey, John's not paying me.
Yeah.
So there is sometimes where I'm the relationship saver. I'm the bad guy.
Yeah.
So that's one of like my top 3 reasons I gain customers is because,
hey, all my friends, I don't want to be, I don't want to be rude to them, but they ain't paying me. So
and you're the first one. As soon as you have that emotional connection with your renter, give it to a management company. It's not going to go well.
Yeah.
You're going to lose a friend. You're going to lose a family member. You're going to lose. I mean, I kid you not.
I can't pay rent this month. Your mom died. What?
Yeah.
What does that got to do with your rent?
I bought this fourplex so my daughter can live in this unit and my son can live in this unit, but now my daughter and son haven't paid me in 3 years. What do I do? I'm like, oh man, now you're telling me without telling me I need to evict your son and your daughter. So here we go. Let's go. Man. I'm going to try to play Dr. Phil and save the relationship. Here we go. So Jane, should you have paid John?
Oh, that's awesome.
So, but it's true. That'll be a fun topic for us to get on. Is like the main reasons why investors come over to AMMT.
I love it.
For us to manage your properties, because I've seen it all. So we got going forward, man. We got why investors use management companies. Like the main reasons. We got some of the horror stories we hear. Whether they're buying and selling, some of the crazy situations we've walked into.
Yeah, we got to get into some stories first.
We got to get into what do you do when someone takes a poop in an open house with no water on? Shop vac it. You go to your truck, you bring a shop vac, and you are. What do you do? I
can't wait.
What do you do when someone stinks up the whole house during an open house?
There's 70 people in
there. Man, I've seen it. I've seen people crawl through windows because they didn't want to go out the front door because they just blew up the bathroom.
Oh no!
I mean,
we're gonna have some fun. AMMT guys, thank you for being a part of the dark side of real estate. I hope I hit you with some tough ones and got you thinking. And I think I was pretty informational for the people curious. For making it through this. I have a gift for you.
Oh,
yeah, you got me this awesome dry fit shirt.
Oh yeah,
I need to get some more dry fit.
Oh, we got some swag.
That's the right size there.
Oh man, you got to get a balloon to fit me. So here we go. Oh, I love it, man. Look at that.
These guys.
Look at this. Hey.
#1 property management team, top tier.
That boy, Tone. I appreciate it, man.
I appreciate you. Well, cheers to this Templeton Rye one more time.
Yes, sir. Woodford Reserve next one.
Can't wait.